Hi, welcome to Awake TV. So Sue and I, today we're going to talk about how to navigate the karmic relationships. So this is a very important topic. Karma is self-inflicted task you gave yourself to yourself. A lot of people think like, okay, this is a punishment from God or yada, yada, yada. But from my experience dealing with my client, when they go back to the root cause and then I ask, why did you create this? It's always about a learning experience because they wanted to learn the other side of the, role, or they wanted to know, or they wanted to grow to overcome whatever the lesson because they couldn't overcome last time. So this is self-inflicted. So after 2012, we shifted 3D to 4D. There's no karma. There's no karmic energetic construct on earth. So this is self-inflicted task you give on yourself. There's no more karmic repetitious cycle in this planet Earth unless you guys are vibrating on 3D. So we want to get into our tips and what we can do, how we can navigate this, how we can end this karmic cycle for good. So Sue, tell me about your thought and about these karmic relationships.
Okay. Well, as you said, Erica, when we're in spirit, we're making our life plan for this incarnation. We have certain things that we wish to experience, and we set into that life plan either people to meet or experiences to have in order to learn those lessons. And then once the karmic situation occurs and you're in the midst of it, once you've resolved what that lesson is, you've learned it, you've internalized it, then it's time for it to end. And whether that's a relationship or maybe a situation in a job, for example, or a course of study, whatever that happens to be, it starts to feel redundant, maybe it's just time for that to end because you've learned the lesson. So hanging on to it is stagnation, and your soul wants to keep moving on. It wants to keep learning and growing. And so hanging on to something that is karmic in nature after you've learned what you needed from it, it becomes detrimental in your life. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how to identify that and let it go. And this is also going to maybe segue into what some of the things we've talked about before, but I thought maybe, do you want to, Erica, give possibly an example or your thoughts on how to figure it out when that karmic lesson it's time to go?
When it's time to go, of course, you think your mind and who you think you are, which is your mind or your ego, is in the driver's seat. And then you feel like, okay, I got this and I'm going to keep on going. Like, for example, my entertainment work, because that was my childhood dream since I was 3 years old. So I was super committed to do this until I die. Okay. I was that committed. And then when your soul, your spiritual team, your divine self do have a different plan for the sake of a collective, not just for you, but bigger picture, they're gonna interfere. And of course, there is a free will, but they're gonna interfere and make your life really difficult.
Yep.
You can't even go through whatever you planned, and then everything gonna start to crashing down left and right, and you can proceed anymore. Like all doors shut, like last time we talked about, and then we can move. So you have to make another decision when every door is shut. Like, are you keep on going hanging there when the door is shut and there's nowhere to go? That's a sign. Like, you have to finish one journey and you have to jump onto totally different journey that, maybe you guys might be talking to your guide like myself, and they keep on suggesting like you should go for you know, coaching or healing or yada yada yada, and you just push aside, oh, that's not what I want to do, I just want to do entertainment. You know, that was me. Like I can just do healing stuff through my entertainment product. I'm not gonna do like all this healing stuff and coaching stuff, and I don't think so. And that was my I guess ego or my mind. But they're
Yeah.
gonna shut everything down, and then you have to make your own decision. That is free will, but your team gonna make sure you're gonna make that free will by
Yeah,
shutting
they're either
everything down.
you're either going to reroute with all the signs or you're going to exit, because if you keep staying too far away from your life plan, eventually your life essence will drain, right? And we
Yeah,
know that
exactly.
from hypnosis, you know, working in hypnosis and talking to people's spirit teams. But you know, hopefully we get the point before then, right? I mean, that's when illness starts setting in and things, and that's the important serious side of what we're talking about that I just want to bring up is that if individuals can persist on not seeing the signs and going in the direction of where their heart is telling them, i.e. also your spirit team, because that's where you hear it through your heart. So if you're not going towards what brings you joy and what helps you to feel good in life, eventually you're going to manifest illness in your body because, you know, fighting, it has energetic consequences to the body. The body is human. So even though our souls, our spirits are infinite and they cannot be destroyed, your body is finite. And so not paying attention to the signs, not flowing forward and moving on after a karmic relationship or situation is complete, then that's when we start also seeing symptoms of illness.
Also
And
like financial problem too, or a lot
yeah,
of like you know, other external trouble is happening everywhere, like bombing is hitting here and there, like everywhere is like, wow, what is going on here? All of a sudden like I'm in turmoil. You know,
exactly.
that's a sign.
Yeah. And that's, you know, I've had several individuals. I just spoke to somebody last night who was in that position where I mean, she was literally crying and my whole life is falling apart. And, you know, so I had to just deconstruct that with her and help her to understand, no, some doors shut for you, which means this isn't for you anymore. Now, what are you interested in doing? And so, you know, taking a deep breath and taking the time to get out of your allow those emotions to come in and process. So I'd say I don't make any big decisions when something happens that I'm upset about for 3 days. I give myself 3 days. And that's where your emotions and your mind, because when it first happens, your emotions up here and your brain's down here. And then you give yourself some time, you know, to work it through a couple of days, and then your emotions and your mind can be here. And that's where you can make clearer decisions. And that's where you can get out of ego, which says, no, I made this decision, I have to do it this way. And you can get into connecting with the feeling and the mind. See, the ego is our defense mechanism that we come into this world with to keep us alive. Our ego is there to tell us, no, don't touch that, that's hot, it's going to burn your hand. But once we become adults, we can integrate the ego into the rest of us and say, you know what, I got this. I don't need you to tell me that I'm in danger because I'm doing something that's exciting or something that I've never done before. I'm okay. You know, we're not in the Stone Ages anymore where we needed that ego just for survival. The ego is something that we can appreciate and say, thank you for always looking out for me all my life. Talk to it just like it's an entity, because it really is. It has its own energy. And, but I need you to take a back seat now because I got this, right?
Yeah, it's really important. That's why, you know, Sue and I, we help our clients to go through past life regressions, because sometimes it's very difficult for us to, you know, find out the cause of why we are keep on self-sabotaging or keep on jumping into the repetitious patterns, and, you know, why we can quit something we really know this is not good for us, right?
Yeah. Sometimes, like, for example, you would find out that somebody came from maybe the death camps of World War II. Maybe they had a lifetime there, just for example. And so there's a victim pattern associated with anybody that went through that, any soul that went through that. If it carried over into this lifetime, maybe the soul didn't quite um, fully experience what it is to find their own power. Okay, so they decided to come back into this life and they put some lessons, some karmic, either relationships or situations where they're going to learn to stand up for themselves. They're going to learn to find their internal power. Well, the individual we're working with, say, for example, they just can't get out of the victim mentality. Everybody's out to get them, so to speak. That's where the hypnosis really helps to help them realize and see, just as a movie playing out in front of them, what they actually went through, to be able to have empathy for their own self for having experienced that, and then to be able to release it with the assistance of their spirit team. And then that way it releases an individual from the memory of that trauma, and it's almost like a clean slate. That
Yeah,
they could start seeing the world through different eyes.
it's super effective. That's why we're doing it, because when we do regular therapy, let's say talking to the therapist, I was on a marriage counseling before, like, me and my ex-husband get divorced, and then it was $100 per hour. And then whole, like, I think we talked about it 1.5 or 2 years. Like, all we did was wasted our money. Okay. So
Yeah.
I just thought I could talk about all this to friends instead of paying counselor or therapist $100 per hour. So
Yeah, and a lot of people's insurance don't even really cover therapy, or they only cover certain ones. And what happens if you don't have a connection with that therapist? I mean, having the right therapist to talk to is everything. You can go talk to any Joe Blow, but if you're not having an energetic connection with them, you're not going to want to open up and tell them all your
well, you can
deepest,
talk
darkest.
about it, but
But it's
like,
expensive.
yeah, when you're just talking about it, you're just talking about it. You're not solving any kind of a childhood trauma by talking about it, right? Especially when you're not awakened at all, you don't even know how to meditate. You are so far away from this spiritual thing. And the only thing you think you can heal yourself is talking to the therapist, but you just talking about it doesn't solve anything. You may know about knowledge or information, but information doesn't solve anything.
What I really love about quantum healing is that, so for myself, I spent 7 years in therapy back in the day, and it wasn't that expensive. I found somebody who was a spiritual teacher, thankfully, but in any event, I had to do my own work. I had to read, I had homework, I had to write, I had to deal with the pain, I had to look at myself and where I needed to grow. So it is all personal work. The thing I love about quantum healing is an individual can have one session and have a complete breakthrough, because the spirit team comes in and just shows them exactly what they need to focus on without going off into 500 other areas and tangents and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more succinct and effective way of
It is.
dealing.
It is.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to waste any time, our time and our client time.
Yeah, and time is money. You're right about that.
Hmm. So
Especially $100 a pop. That's cheap for nowadays. Nowadays it's probably like more like 250 a session. So you take that times a year and you're looking at some money.
yeah, it is. So how can we, when stuff is falling down all over, that is a sign of, your spirit team or your soul, because no matter how strong your mind is, your soul always override, because soul is a driver's seat. So more you resist, everything gonna fall all over
Well,
until you give up.
the first thing that comes to mind is that we need to understand and really believe that no connection that we sever is ever truly severed. And this lifetime is such a blip on the map of all the life. We're infinite. Our souls are infinite. So saying goodbye to somebody in this lifetime doesn't mean you'll never see them again, if you want to. Because once we're in spirit, we can make any connections we wish. And we can even make connections to each other if we're not physically seeing one another through energetic, just sending love into the airwaves.
But
So a separation or an ending of a relationship doesn't mean the end forever and ever, amen. It means for now, I'm acting in my best interest and doing what I need to do for myself, and I'll see you later, right? It's not a forever.
You can form new relationship if you are placed to do so. Like me and my ex-husband in the beginning, we decided to become best friends forever because I thought that was really important for me. But when he met his soulmate, she didn't want him to meet me anymore. So, we had to respect her opinion. And
yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that happens a lot. And let's put it this way, like you said earlier, if you're busy trying to hang on to a karmic relationship when the lesson is done, you're preventing yourself from meeting that next person that's intended to be in your life.
Yes, that was the biggest lesson. I'm not sure if my ex-husband and I had the karmic relationship, but the point is, if he kept on hanging to be with me and married to me and having okay relationship with me, even though trust and love is dead, within us, we all have his friendship, okay marriage, but like if we had that, he missed meeting his soulmate.
Yeah. And that would have been a tragedy, really. And you, right? Because sovereign beings, we all are entitled to create our happiness and pursue it.
Yeah, and then back then when I made that decision, I didn't know that I did it for me, but I didn't know my decision ended up making him meeting his soulmate. He had to go through a couple of people before meeting her because he had to learn the lesson what not to say to women. When you say something and then when you say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Well, saying sorry doesn't
doesn't erase it.
When you say something terrible, you're done.
It depends, but yeah, I can agree with you. That can happen for sure.
Yeah.
So, it's funny. My ex-husband said to me one day, we were talking about our son together, and he said, if you and I had met when I was 30, we would still be together. And I wasn't going to disagree with him, because that's okay if he believes that, but I don't think so. Ours was definitely a karmic relationship, A, to bring my son into the world, and B, so that I could see, and that he could see also, self-love. And we were so young when we met and married that I don't know, I was so immature back then, but it helped me to grow up pretty quickly and to gain a wisdom. So I'm eternally grateful for that relationship, not just for our shared son, but also for the lessons that I learned. And I always wish him, love and happiness and joy in life. And he's met his soulmate. They have a child together, and he's in college now, and he's doing really, really well. And then her kids, he's been a great father to them. So, if we had just done everything we could to keep this relationship together for the sake of our son, we would have missed out on all those good things that we experienced in our lives. And I'm with my true soulmate. I know that, and probably will be until I die, and until I get confirmation otherwise. So I'm really, really super glad that it didn't work out, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
I was lucky that my twin flame catalyst stepped in, and then he helped me to transform completely, from I'm not really sure what to do in my life. Should I, I don't like my marriage. I don't know, from okay, I gotta be who I am and just be confident, and doesn't matter what other people say, follow your heart. Like he taught me to be like that, and I become like that person. And I mean, I eventually become that person after we going out, but just us being friends at my during my marriage, it influenced me to give me some kind of benchmark, and then it helped me to make my decision, because I'm thinking like, um, I'm more worried about what other people think, or what my mother gonna say, or all that kind of stuff. Like I was worried about other people so much. Like how, like are they gonna tell me I told you so? That kind of thing. And
Yeah. Yeah,
it
that's no
took
fun.
long time to like come out with my dark night of the soul. 4 years every day questioning myself, like am I, what should I do? Like, but, and you don't even know after you make a decision to end your relationship, you don't even know what's going to happen in the future, right? But
Yeah,
it's turned out to be, when you follow your heart, never steer the wrong direction, always the right direction, right? So he ended up
completely.
his soulmate, and your ex-husband, and you end up meeting soulmate as well, right?
Mhm.
You didn't
Yeah.
know when you made the decision back then, right?
No, and as a matter of fact, I was fully prepared to spend my life alone with my son rather than be treated badly. I dated a fella after my marriage, after we separated, and he didn't treat me very well. And I was kind of crazy about him. And luckily, my counselor assisted me in seeing that that's not the way I wanted to go. But after that point, I was fully prepared to be alone the rest of my life rather than be with somebody that wouldn't treat me properly, at least as good as I treat them. And so interesting that my current husband, my soulmate, he had basically come to a similar conclusion. We had this discussion. We laugh about it now, but he had decided he was done with relationship. He had been engaged twice, and long story short, both of them had had other relationships, and one just flat out told him, unless you want to quit college and come home and marry me and we'll get a double wide trailer and start popping out babies, and I'm not interested in you. And that wasn't what he wanted for his life. So anyway, we both had our challenging relationships, and we both had come to the decision that we were willing to be alone and with ourselves rather than be in a relationship that was detrimental to us. And so I think that's how we opened the door. That's how we changed the energy that allowed us to be together.
Mm-hmm.
And
So that's good when people come out from this stuck position and make a decision. But what can we advise on people who are still stuck or feeling bad about being stuck in this karmic situation and the stuff is falling apart? What I can tell them is very important, for you to nurture yourself, and then love yourself, and then don't think like, okay, you have to make a huge life decision today. Okay, you can do baby steps,
yeah,
little tiny steps to honoring yourself, honoring your feeling. Started to what you gonna call it, drawing the boundaries, and then start being yourself. Little bit of baby steps gonna take you to eventually gigantic steps.
yep.
So that's what I'm telling you. Like when you decided to not to, what you gonna call it,
You don't want to jump out of the frying pan just
yeah.
yet. You want to get out of it enough to safe distance and start thinking about the big picture.
Yeah, like don't think like, oh yeah, I gotta make a decision right now. Like small steps, baby
Yeah.
steps.
And I agree with what you said completely. And I would only add to it that I'm a list person. So I would start writing a list, a journal of some kind, and start listing what do you think this relationship is teaching you? What are you learning from this relationship? Or if it's a job, or if it's, whatever it happens to be, whatever karmic situation needs to be resolved, and keep in touch, because what that's doing is that's helping you to keep track of your experiences in a way that you can come back and easily look at it, visual, revisit it, and say, oh, and guess what? This just happened today, and I'm going to add that to this on the list. This is just proving my point, right? So when we can visually have something, a tool that helps us put the pieces together and see what the lesson is,
And
I
also,
think that's helpful.
it is also, and when every day you feel like you can win this, you want to just be stuck in this situation, but every time you make a decision to change yourself even a little bit, congratulating yourself.
Yes.
Don't blame on yourself like I'm a loser, I'm powerless, I can't do this, maybe I deserve this relationship. Okay, stop self-negative talking, because that voice is probably coming from, could be your parents or whoever caretaker or could be your schoolmate in your childhood time. All this negative voice, that's not your voice, that's a programming telling you all this horrible thought about yourself. So when you are creating better situation for you, nobody else but for you, even a little bit, congratulating on yourself.
Absolutely. Like you said, baby steps are beautiful. I mean, what do we want to see? One of the most things we want to see with children is when they first start walking, because it's such a courageous thing. When that child who is all wobbly and everything finally decides that they're going to risk it and they're going to take that step. I mean, that's why we love that so much. Let's give that to ourselves. Let's give ourselves the gift and the pat on the back. I mean, if we knew then what we know now, we wouldn't have been in the relationship at all. Right?
Yes.
We would have stepped right around that little puppy, but or we would have got out of.
Super important, because before we wrap up, for me, my marriage was extremely important, because I followed my fear and I got married. So after that, I learned a big lesson: don't follow my fear, follow my heart, always. So every single time fear hit me on my job situation or relationship situation, or whatever the big situation, I did learn my lesson. So, so I follow my heart, and then I take care of my fear, like by working on myself, or if I can't do it on my own, I ask other people to help me.
Yeah, asking for help is beautiful. I mean, I don't think as human beings we're here on this planet having these experiences so that we can make all of our decisions in a vacuum. Just be very careful who you're putting your trust in, right? The sources that you're going to, and feel into it. When you hear something that doesn't sound right from someone else, for you, it's not right for you, you're going to feel that right away. Trust that. But I mean, if you go to a reliable source, somebody that does this kind of work for consultation and that sort of thing, feel into that energy as well. Does that person feel? Do you feel attracted? Not in a relationship sort of way, but do you feel attracted to their energy? Does their energy feel good to you? And asking for help is, I think, one of the bravest things anybody can do.
Yeah, because we can't do everything on our own. That's why we have other people around us, right? We can be efficient and self-sufficient enough, but we can always help from others.
Right. Absolutely, I agree.
Alrighty. So that's what we wanted to talk today with you guys about. And next week, we're going to bring more interesting content for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Sue.
Thanks, Erica. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. So please share, like, and if anybody else around you is having this kind of karmic difficult situation, share this content for your friends. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, that